Good evening, and welcome to the January 23rd, 2023 Planning Board meeting. If we could, please first stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'd also like to thank Jeff for filling in for Tom tonight. Appreciate that. We're going to start off the meeting with correspondence. Anybody got anything in there want to discuss?
No.
John?
No, not at this time.
Counselor?
Nothing from me.
Okay, so we will move on then to the meeting minutes of January 9th, 2023. I almost said July. Any comments, corrections?
None here.
Nope.
None.
Good. John?
Nothing.
Counselor?
Nothing from me.
All right, then, do I have a motion to approve the January 9th, 2023 meeting minutes?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to move into the regular portion of the meeting. First on the agenda, we have Boniello Equities. It's a subdivision. They're requesting their first 90-day time extension. Location's 2016 Compound Road. How are you?
Just a quick update. We're here for a 90-day extension. It's been 6 months. The only thing we're waiting on is the health department, which I actually got confirmation Friday. It sounds like they're ready to sign off on it. Got to get them a couple more sets of plans, and after 6 months, I think they're finally done.
The health department is, at this time, from what I understand, very short-staffed.
I don't know I've been dealing with them for 40 years. I've never seen this.
I think everybody's looking for engineers at this point.
I think you're right.
Any concerns, questions from the board?
No. No.
John?
No, not at this time.
Counselor?
No questions from me.
Okay, then, do I have a motion to approve the first 90-day time extension for the Boniello Equity subdivision?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good luck, all right. Okay, next we got the Colangelo Major subdivision. This is a request for reapproval. Location's 1805 Jacob Road.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Joe.
Josephine, the principal site design consultants. As you can see in the letter from Geraldine Tortorella, the attorney for the project, they're still working on straightening out the legal instruments for the trail easement. So we're requesting an extension on time. So that can be completed.
Any concerns, questions from the board?
No concerns.
John?
Nothing here.
Counselor?
Nope, nothing from me.
All right, there's no issues. Do I have a motion to request the reapproval of the Colangelo Major subdivision?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have Lowe's Pad C. This is a public hearing located at 3180 Compound Road. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening. Hey, you got a good podium, huh? Well, all right, so this is pad C, the last pad, where we have Chipotle coming in. And where would you like to start? We have our landscape architect. I think that was one of the bigger concerns. We have the architect here as well. But this is Joe's going to bring it up. Okay, I guess you all can see it, right? I'll have it in front of you. Mm-hmm. All right, so this is the last pad to be developed at the Lowe's site. This is the pad that is closest to the Taconic exit ramp and the corner of Route 202. Proposal for a Chipotle restaurant with the total square footage of the building being Square foot of the building?
Oh.
Square foot of the building?
It's, sorry. It's, 23.
All right, and I guess I will bring Joe up to go over the details of the particular site. Joe?
It's always a challenge. Okay. Good evening, Joseph Rena, the Principal of Site Design Consultants. So as Michael described, the site is Pad C, which is the last site remaining on the Lowe's Center, shopping center. It's the one closest to the Taconic. You can see the relationship here to the Lowe's building, which is to the back of the site. This is where Starbucks is and Trader Joe's over in this location here. The
Bless you.
The entrance to the site is where it was originally prescribed to be in the original site plan approval for the center. There's a partial curb cut there already. As you come into the site, you'll see the trash enclosures there on the left. There's parking on both sides as you enter. There's two-way traffic on the main entry drive or the west side of the site, which is right here. So you've got parking along this edge. And a drive-through here. If you recall, we described the last time, this is a digital pickup area, so orders are placed through your phone app or whatever it may be, and it's picked up at the window ready for you served. It's not a typical drive-up type situation where you give your order and then they have it ready for you when you come up. So the circulation is around the south side of the building and exiting back at the north side of the building here. This is the pickup window location. You have through traffic, which you can get around the building on this side here. And you've got, again, two-way traffic loading in this area here. We've prepared a full set of engineering drawings. This is the existing conditions plan. As you're aware now, this is just a gravel parking area that was put in place temporarily for Trader Joe's. There are utilities that are brought into the site, ready to go for access for the new building. The site itself sits down below the Crampon Road and below the main entry drive. There's a retaining wall which starts here and basically rings three sides of the site because of the elevation change in there, and in order to get this somewhat level, we're creating these retaining walls along the three sides of the site there. Water and sewer will be brought in from this location here. There'll be a standard grease trap for the sewer discharge before it enters the town system, which is out in the main entry drive. Underground electrical utilities and communications will be brought in or already into the site up to this location here. Will be extended to the building. Drainage will all connect to the existing drainage that is already in place and was already designed as part of the original approval. The main entry door to the building is at this location here, which faces 202. There's a little outdoor patio here for outdoor dining when that should be in season. This is a concrete sidewalk area along this side here. There'll be landscaping around the building, which Abigail will show you momentarily. Again, the trash enclosure is here. That pickup will be, the trucks will drive straight in and probably straight back out again and make their way around the site. And exit around across the front of Lowe's and make their way around towards the entry. We prepared a lighting plan with the photometrics, and the light levels are all consistent with what the town code requires. The type of lighting is consistent with what has been used throughout the site on the other pads. We have a detail of that, which I can show you momentarily. And it would all be downward shielded lighting, and you would not have any influence of lighting off the site or upward lighting. This is the delivery truck movement plan, which we talked about at the last time. We originally were under the impression that we were going to need a trailer type truck delivery, so we had proposed a delivery area over here, a loading zone here. Chipotle told us no, that 28-foot box truck is what their deliveries would come in, and this shows the pattern of traffic, which, as you can see, can circulate through the site without issue. The loading area that we're designating would be right here, front here, and that would not block any traffic if it should happen during any typical business hours, which they have told us that normally the deliveries will be before business hours occur. This is the retaining wall plan, and it gives you the profiles of the retaining walls going around the site. What we had shown you the last time, this is the proposed monument sign, which would be put in place up near the main entry drive, the intersection of the main entry drive and Route 202. And I just want to show you the lighting. Again, this is the lighting that's proposed. And again, it's consistent with what's been used throughout the entire center there. These are our standard retaining wall details. Okay. If you don't have any questions for me, I'll pass it over to Abigail.
Any questions?
I have a couple questions on the lighting plan, Joe.
Yes.
So you can put on this sheet, you can put on the catalog cuts of the heads and all that?
Right on the lighting plan itself?
Yeah, either on it or submitted, or
I mean, they're on that detail sheet.
they're on the next page?
No, the detail sheet.
I don't see it.
Right here.
Okay, all right. And then question on the description, it's LED P230K, the third, is that supposed to be 3000K?
Let me take a look. I'll have to verify that, John.
And last but not least,
It's probably, yes, 3,000K,
okay.
yes.
And then you have a pole and a lamp right at the edge of the sidewalk on the western side of the building, I guess, near the loading. Is that right?
That should not be there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that should
that's
not
out.
be there. Yeah. That should just be a pull box there.
Oh, what?
A pull box for
Just
the,
a pull box?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's labeled as a light?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's all I got.
Okay.
All right, we bring up the landscape architect.
Please, thank
There we
you.
go.
Oh, you're gonna have me navigate,
You
huh?
want- Yeah, you want me to? Okay,
Sure.
all right.
And I won't mess anything up for you.
I have them.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Abigail Adams, registered landscape architect, owner A2 Land Consulting out of New Fairfield, Connecticut. Just to go through briefly, we've made some revisions to the landscape plan since our last meeting based on site plan revisions, and also wanted to note on the left-hand side of the first drawing that we show there's some existing trees out at the site, so we have incorporated those into the revised landscape plan. We have some existing maples, dogwoods, eastern redbuds, and a hackberry. We're proposing that material either remains in place or be transplanted to appropriate islands or used for ornamental plantings throughout the site. So I just wanted to make note of that. As noted, we revised the planting to account for the site plan changes, including most notably the removal of the delivery area exactly. So we've changed the planting scheme there and added some more lawn, but have maintained the robust planting that we have throughout the site, buffering that planting area. We have end island trees, again, using some of the maples that are existing on site. We have street trees lining the access drive, which are the columnar beech that we have proposed at other pads on the site. And we have provided low plantings in the end islands as well as trees. And for the patio area, as discussed last time, we have some ornamental plantings and also screen plantings. So we've got tall evergreens that are flanked by lower ornamentals both on the patio side and on the drive-through side. So you create a really nice atmosphere both for people who are enjoying the patio as well as those who are driving through just picking up their food. Per town staff comments, we have added planting above the retaining wall. So we do have some maintained lawn between Crom Pond Road, but we've also added ornamental plantings above the wall to create a nice buffer. And again, as you're driving through, you're visually looking at some layered landscape material. There's some evergreen material in there, ornamentals, hydrangeas, and a couple of ornamental trees. Up in the southeastern corner, there's an existing redbud, and there is also an existing Austrian pine. Those were planted as part of the overall Lowe's planting. We're adding a couple of evergreen trees in that corner as well. And then again, in addition to some staff comments, we've gone out and assessed this is on the second page, Joe, thank you. We've assessed the buffer plantings related to the DOT right-of-way area. Originally proposed were 25 evergreen trees. It appears that most of those are either dead or in decline. One is surviving and thriving, and there are 10 naturalized cedars, which are pretty large. So what we are proposing is to replace 14 of those trees that are in decline are already dead and have suffered. So we're proposing to replace those with 5 fir trees, 4 eastern red cedar, since they seem to be thriving and doing very well in that area, and then 5 white spruce. We switched up some of the material from what was originally proposed just because those didn't seem to be thriving in that location. So we would propose to remove what's existing there, not doing well, and in the field replace those and site those in that area along the above the retaining wall in that buffer area. I think those are all of the main points I'd like to cover.
Any questions?
No, I really appreciate you working with the town staff to
Absolutely.
make those changes.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to bring up the architect.
Straight to the elevation, the color elevation. Good evening, Frankie Campione, principal with Create Architects. I've been standing in front of you since 2015, believe it or not. His hair was shorter, her hair was shorter, my belly was smaller. But it's nice to see you all again in person, and for once, we're actually able to tell you who the tenant is, as opposed to shrouded in secrecy, as it was with Trader Joe's and Starbucks and so forth. So having been in front of you before, I think we've preempted a lot of the other conversations we've had in the past. It's four-sided architecture, parapets all the way around. The roof will be sloped within that roof, within that parapet, so that the roof is actually lower than what you see on the building right now. The rooftop units will be screened accordingly from the facades. The building materials are similar, although not exact to the others, because each of the pad buildings that we've done so far have a little differentiation, but they're the same materials. And if you remember, between pad A and pad B, between what I'll call the Starbucks AAA building versus the Trader Joe's building, we use some of the colors between those, and then the same here. We've taken the brown that's at the Starbucks building and we've brought that into pad C, while still allowing Chipotle to have a little bit of branding and identity. Building height is about the same height, if not a little bit lower. Majority is 19'8", if I remember correctly, 19'8", and then 20'4" at the drive-through feature on the side of the building. And as I mentioned, the materials are virtually the same, CMU and IFAS.
So the south elevation is the storefront?
The south elevation is the storefront, correct?
Facing 202, more or less?
Correct.
And your parapet from top of roof to the top of the parapet is roughly what?
19'8"?
No, from the top of the roof. In other words, what do you have to help hide?
Joe, can you pull the zoom in right in there?
I'm trying to.
Where it says line of,
Yeah, it's not letting me zoom in. Doesn't like it being there.
it's a heavy file. If you want to go to the black and white.
Okay.
Because we show the roof line in there. And we've dotted in the RTUs in that first elevation.
Yeah, it's giving me a hard time with this guy. Okay, what do you want me to zoom in, Frank?
Looks like we're missing. No, it looks
Well,
like we're
well,
missing
I'll
information.
simplify the question. So you've designed the height in the parapet to hide completely the rooftop units.
Yes, if you look at elevation 4 at the top, I'm kind of short, but right in the middle here, you can see the rooftop units are dashed in.
Okay.
Right in the middle, so that they'll be screened out. As you know, the site, depending on where you're at, if you're up at the Taconic, you're driving underneath and so forth, but based on the majority of the grade, that's correct. That's it for now. Thank you.
And any other questions?
Anything from the board?
No? Public?
My biggest concern on this originally was the delivery, the pull-off right there on the traffic lane. And that's not only been resolved, but it's been resolved with the result of having plantings and more natural coverage there. So I think that's great. Looks super.
Anything else from the board?
I agree. That was a big concern of mine. I
Yeah.
also like the planting in front of the retaining wall on the 202 side.
I know,
That's a plus.
Town and Abigail worked hard on both of them.
John, anything on your end?
No, answered all my questions. Thank you.
Counsel?
I'm good.
This is a public hearing, so we're going to open it up to the public. Anybody wants to come up, just state their name for the record, ask your question. Don't everybody run up at once. I do want to say thank you very much to the Breslin Group. I think the whole development, starting from the beginning, way back with the original application to now, I think you guys have put together a really great team. I think anybody that goes out there, can be proud that this is in Yorktown. I think it's a great addition to the area, so thank you very much.
Thank you to the town and the board.
No, it's been a pleasure. All right, that
Boy,
being said,
that's nice to hear after all those years of.
it's a long time. You remember the
My years
hundreds of
haven't
people
been
showing
long.
up at that little... All right, if there's nothing else, do I have a motion to close the public hearing for the Lowe's Pad C?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We also have in our book a resolution. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Anybody got any concern? Oh,
Wait.
Dan.
Just a couple of quick things. So in the draft resolution you have before you, there's blanks for the inspection fees and erosion bonds. So obviously those will have to, we don't have a site work estimate, so we can't provide you with that. But I also just wanted to read a couple of things into the record.
Yep.
And I'll give you, excuse me. Verify the impervious surfaces associated with the proposed application does not exceed the area considered the overall SWIP for the shopping center, which I think will be fine, but we want to confirm that. We want to see that the sewer tap and water tap permits are obtained prior to the issuance of the building permit. There's a slope failure along the east side of the property. Want to just make sure that's stabilized in some fashion. And just confirm that there's no utility conflicts where the sewer service crosses the proposed drainage. There's also sanitary manhole in close proximity. But otherwise, it looks like we're ready to go here, and just wanted to make sure that was memorialized in the resolution before it was adopted.
Thank you, Dan. We also did get today a letter from the Water District from Mr. Paul Vasillo, so we're good there. Thanks, Dan. All right, so everybody's had the chance to take a look at the
Yes.
resolution?
Yes.
Any issues, John?
No issues.
Anything else to add?
No issues from me.
You guys all set?
All set?
Okay, then. In front of us, we have a resolution approving the amended site plan and special use permit for the Lowe's Shopping Center, Pad C, Chipotle. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Really nice
Thank you,
job.
gentlemen, appreciate it.
Okay.
So I have a motion to close the regular portion of the meeting and move into the work session.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first on the agenda, we have Burger King. This is a discussion of an amended site plan, locations 385 Downing Drive.
I don't have the technological skills to go Rena on this one. Oh, I got the old paper, but I know
Paper.
we sent, I know, we sent in 3 manageable copies to the board. I think hopefully that you have it. Yeah, this is, I don't know if the, Bob, you wouldn't have uploaded anything, right? from this?
I have some plans, I might need Joe, left his computer on.
We're watching you send your emails, Joe.
My understanding, the only thing that was missing was is a lighting plan. Anyhow, this is, when we get there, this is to renovate the Burger King and Yorktown Green Shopping Center. That was a complete upgrade of the site. I know we've been through this a couple, I don't know if you recall, I guess we haven't been here for a while. Maybe at best, end of last summer or something. At that point, I think it was the last time we were here. Staff had several comments. And I think one of the major issues was the propane tanks locations. Because I believe it was the prior site plan approval had those going underground.
Right.
and they're above ground, and the proposal is for them to remain above ground. We did have the vendor, propane gas vendor, come out, take a look. And I believe that issue was addressed with town planner in regard to that it's the better solution, or the better scenario is to have them above ground, but they've been moved back, and they will have protective bollards around them. The other issue was just the traffic circulation, as this is 2-lane drive-through. And the footprint of the building is only changing in one regard, and that is to the canopy to the pickup window, which will be a double pickup window.
Where are they going now?
Oh, wait a minute.
You see the tanks on there?
But
Yeah,
it's
in the back.
two pickup windows? Order, two places, all right.
The notes say.
My correction, 2 places to order, 1 pickup
Relocated
window.
from parking spaces provided.
And that's,
minimum 6-foot high fence around propane tanks.
Mike? Just got a quick question
Yeah.
on the propane tanks.
yes.
You showing them up in the corner there, behind a couple of parking spaces, but there seems to be a note which says existing tanks to be relocated from parking space. Is that the final location back up there?
Yes, there's what's being shown on the plan. They're being pushed back.
Okay.
They're basically, yeah, they would be in parking spots 33 and 34 right now. So they're-
Oh, okay, so you're putting them out, all right.
Yeah, they're pushing them back. Um,
How far away is that from the 118?
oh,
Well, there's a
it's
sidewalk.
got to be quite substantial.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
I
there's
just,
a sidewalk.
I just want, I don't see it on, I know, from my own knowledge.
I could probably, I'd have to probably go out, get that dimension.
But there's a sidewalk, and then there's other landscaping, and then there's the roadway
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
all right.
And that's actually, the improved portion of 118 is quite,
Okay.
it's a small percentage of
I
the
think
actual
so.
right of way.
You've got
Oh, I can,
new, metal
Yeah,
Provide new
bollards.
metal bollards as necessary, typical.
I couldn't enlarge it.
Maybe just address what's going around the tanks for our
It's
benefit.
bollards and a fence. There'll be protective bollards and a fence.
Okay, thank you.
But we, after discussing with this propane company, felt that this was a much safer solution, believe it or not, than having the ground, underground where they could potentially rock
Well,
and
kind
move
of-
with the.
Some of us are familiar with the underground of that site.
Yeah, it's a little wet. Yeah. You don't want them popping out of the ground, which does happen. Yeah, so, this is, and if you got a line breaking or something like that. So
Yeah.
There's a much better solution to it. Right, so we're trying, and, I think that I really think that was a major issue. Because other than that, basically the footprint's the same. You're getting an facelift on the building. And you have, basically then just, the extension of the overhang by the takeout window, by the pickup window. But everything else, and then we did a landscaping plan, I think, which is detailed.
The rest of the landscaping plan.
Okay, to me. What do you think?
I think there was an issue with the corner vegetation, a lot of that stuff was dead. So, that's really the landlord's responsibility, but we don't have
I saw that Ostrich takes care of all that, right?
Yeah, we don't have jurisdiction over that
Okay.
as far as the leasehold goes. And then we have are you doing any additional lighting on the site, or is it just using the existing? The existing. As far as the lighting goes, there isn't any revised plan as far as that's just the existing.
What's existing?
It's whatever's on site.
So we closed the public hearing in
You
June.
need that surveyed, or?
Well, they need to be shielded, that's the main thing. So, do you have poles out there? Light poles?
Yeah, and Ulster has 5.
But nothing's changing from what's out there. That's not being touched.
And what about lighting on the building?
It's, it should be in the. Yes, you want the, these are the internal, right? No.
What's our next move?
I guess they'll prepare. Gonna verify the lighting though.
Marcus said that there was nothing proposed. They would
John, what
like to
is it
see
you
if
need,
there was
you need, because this is all the interior lighting. I don't have, it's, I don't think, is it gonna be exterior?
Looking at their memo, let's see. No parapet.
Yeah. All
This
right,
was 6 months ago.
yeah.
This was last year's memo.
They have to be a certain, you know, they have to be shielded, so you can't have the big security lights that throw light, you know, all over the place.
I'll get the detail.
And then as far as the poles, we'll take a look at the poles. If
Alright.
they're the same and they're shielded, then
Yeah, no, as far as I know, nothing's changed there, so any of the lighting on the building, I'll get you a plan for that.
right,
I'll confirm what's there.
right. And then I don't see. I don't know if you did a landscaping plan. I don't see one in my package anyway.
Yeah,
There's nothing in there.
There's something referenced in Abaka's memo on landscaping. Well, landscaping plan was submitted in June though, but
Can I address
Yeah.
the landscaping?
yeah, go ahead.
Please.
sure.
Thank you.
You just gotta go up to the mic.
I'm Peg Caniff, the franchisee of that Burger King. Hi. So, you know, the landscaping there with Ulster's been an issue. I'm the tenant. You guys recommended or proposed his landscaping issue. I have the letter in '97. I brought it back to him and I told him that that's what you guys want, what he agreed to. He came out there, he cleaned everything up, he planted some stuff. We agreed to take care of like the drive-through area that we're building, so we have that, and he's agreed to maintain it. He gave me his landscaper's name and number, Darlene Embry, and I can call her directly if I have anything out of place, and she will correct it. So he did a great job of cleaning everything up. I was shocked, to be honest. And in the fall, he came, he planted mums, so he's really working on it. So I don't know what other landscaping you want me to take care of, but it's not my responsibility because it's his shopping center. I just leased that property from him.
So the triangle, for instance, the triangular area is his responsibility? Okay.
All of my, everything that surrounds me is his responsibility.
Okay. And, okay. So the median at the drive-through, the new median that separates the two lines, you're gonna do some landscaping in there, and you have a plan, okay?
Yes.
I don't think I have that, but,
No, you don't.
okay, so what, you just send that in and we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Right, and the triangle here, that's Oster?
Yes.
Okay. You need anything from Oster on that, or you need us to get?
Well, let me get that, and then I'll talk with you and
Yeah.
figure out.
I'll try to get something from him, so.
All right, just get, to John and Rama what's missing, so you guys could sit down and work through it.
Michael, quick question that,
Yeah.
it seems that some of the mechanicals on the rooftop are visible from ground. Is there any idea in the renovation to increase the height of the parapet around the rooftop mechanicals?
It is higher, and we're not positive that it's gonna cover, so we agreed to put the decorative fencing around them if we need.
Up on the rooftop?
Yeah.
Great, okay. Minor.
On the rooftop? Or you talk about the propane tanks?
No,
We're talking about the
no,
rooftop.
rooftop.
We'll get a detail on that?
Yeah, not a problem, get a detail on that, and a detail, I guess you want a detail around the propane tank too, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So any other,
The last thing that I have is the pedestrian walkway that comes into the site from the sidewalk.
Yeah.
If you could just shove 16, 17, and 18 down and just create a little walking area that used to be there.
okay, you want.
Yeah, just move those down.
Want it slid, all right.
Yeah, and once they get into past the cars, then they're on their own.
You just want us to just create a gap in there?
Yeah, just get a little gap in there.
All right, so we got the propane tank issues kind of resolved, I would think? That was a bigger issue, so that's, are we
Yeah,
okay with that, or?
with the professional, opinion,
Yeah.
I think the board can accept or not accept that, it's up to them, and move forward from what's in the record from the last time, which goes back a ways, which
Right.
required the undergrounding of them. So this makes, gives them the ability to move forward from that.
All right, well, we just want to make sure that we're okay with that amendment.
I think we
That's
just wanted
gonna-
it
No issue
screened
on
and
his end.
protected by
Yeah,
bollards, which are on
okay.
the plan.
Just want,
so.
because that was a bigger issue. Other than that, everything else seems to be. And
I think that's fine.
Yeah, it seems to be, all right, so we'll get the rest of that
Rather than
information.
popping up and breaking.
And is there any other? We got the exterior building lighting detail,
Landscaping.
and
I think we gotta just be a little sensitive to the landscaping issue because Oster's involved and it's not you directly, so we just wanna make sure that they're obligated to do whatever it is they're saying.
I'll try,
This is representative that I've been dealing with.
Yeah,
He's very, much not like Oster. Much, I mean, when I called him, he answered me immediately.
Good.
Within 10 days, they did what I asked him to do. And he's been very, answered the phone. I'm shocked. I mean, I've been there since the 70s. He never,
I had dealings with Abe, I remember.
Yes, I know. Me too. So, this guy, Tim Huddleston, he's the director of their commercial real estate, and he's very receptive to whatever I've asked of him. So,
Okay,
I'm hoping that they've turned over a new leaf. It seems like they have anyway.
Good.
I mean, I've had to deal with them with a new lease and all the other stuff, and it's been very much easier than ever in the past.
Are you referring to kind of like a maintenance plan, kind of?
I think we
Like a
just,
yearly annual maintenance?
yeah,
we'll endeavor to get what we can from them in sort of, of
Put it
assurances.
together and propose it, so.
Yeah.
Put it together and let's propose it.
Yeah. We'll try our best. We can't, but we don't have the
Well, we can
legal
ask.
authority to change it, in terms of, so we'll do our
No,
best.
But if we agree on what the plan might be, he's going to have trouble disagreeing with it, I think.
The only problem is I can't bind him, and
I understand.
and you get us. I don't want to get us squeezed in the middle of.
Must be something
The
in
town
the
and
existing
the-
lease, right? They must,
Yeah,
Well, I have the agreement that you guys signed with him in '97, and that's what I told him he had to live up to. And that's what he did so far.
Yeah, that's enforceable.
So this is.
let's put that in the record then.
With you, not with
Yeah.
me.
Okay,
So far, you've got his cooperation, so let's just
Yes.
put
Right.
something together and
I
propose
will
it.
do my best to allay any issues in that regard, but it's limited to what we can do
We'll do
legally.
our best to keep it to look nice, but I'm gonna stay on his case. And Darlene, I'm sure you all know Darlene Embry, she's been terrific. So.
right.
She gave me her cell phone number. She said, if you have a problem there, it's my responsibility. I'll come fix it.
Okay,
All right, so we got some details to work out.
Yeah.
With the staff.
Absolutely, thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
okay,
Thank
good
you,
night.
guys. All right, next on the agenda, we have Guiding Eyes for the Blind. This is a training school kennel. Discussion of site plan and special permit. Location 3241 Compound Road. How are you?
Good. Oops, sorry. Give me 1 second. No problem, no problem. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, David Cooper, partner with the law firm of Aaron and Steinmetz, here representing Guiding Eyes for the Blind, the contract vendee for 3241 Compound Road. We are seeking site plan. This is a site plan application to introduce a new training school and kennel at the site. With me tonight is Bill Ma, who's head of operations for Guiding Eyes for the Blind, and Joe Rena, site design consultants who you know well. Also, my partner, David Steinmetz, sends his regrets. He couldn't be with you tonight, so he sent the other David in the office.
Is he on vacation or something like
No,
that?
no, he had another meeting.
It was last time.
Oh, I didn't mean to throw him under the bus. I just wanted to let you know that he sends his regrets.
We could do that for you.
We are here tonight to make an initial presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Joe in a second to take you through the plans. We'll hope at the end of the meeting that we've provided you with enough information, at least for now, to move this on to a public information session. Just by way of background, in October of last year, the town board amended the IN district to permit non-commercial dog kennels, which is what is now being proposed. With the zoning in place, the applicant has now put pen to paper and really refined the site plans and everything that you'll see tonight. Obviously, we want your board's initial reaction to it and whatever other information you would need to move the process along. We do think that getting public comment would also be helpful, so ultimately we're going to ask you tonight if we could move it to the next step. But before all of that, let me turn it over to Joe to take you through the site plan and answer any questions you may have.
Hello again. Okay, so the last time you saw this was during the process of asking for the zoning amendment, zoning code amendment with the town board, and it was referred to you. Just to get everyone oriented again with the site. This is Crampond Road here. This is Mohansick Avenue right here. You've got Trader Joe's across the way, Starbucks across the way. This is Carpenter Road here, which takes you to some residential homes, 2 residential homes that are in the back here. Sorry, 3. There's one in this location, one here, and one here, which are the closest to the site. You have Signs Inc., which cuts into the site, and you've got the mobile station on the corner here, which also juts into the site. This is an overall view of the property. Again, this is Crampond on this side, Mohansick on this side. The entrance to the project will be off Mohansick over the existing driveway that's there now that serves an abandoned residence. That's I'll show you on the existing condition plan. So we're going to follow the path already created by that, and essentially the building lands on the footprint of the existing house. Of course, it's much larger footprint. There's a wetland on the site. It's a narrow channelized wetland along the east edge. It continues around along the Crampond Road side and expands as you get to the west along Sherry Brook. This green area is, as we had mentioned to you the last time, is a landfill site of construction debris. The DEC is involved with this now. We're doing a closure plan with the DEC, which involves capping this area with 1 to 2 feet of clean fill, and then it would just be vegetated with seed, and that would be considered then again protected or closed as far as the DEC is concerned. This little roadway or dashed line roadway here will be the access or construction access to get to this area and prepare it in accordance to the DEC approvals. Bring in a little tighter into the site. Again, this is the main entry drive. We are crossing the wetland here where there's an existing crossing. However, we're going to have to expand that crossing. There's a 12-inch culvert that's there now, and we're going to replace it with a new 36-inch culvert. But it will require some filling of wetland in this area. You come into the site. This is now, this line here is the buffer line, so you can see we are slightly in the buffer. We will be with the entire entry drive and slightly with the parking area here. You come into the site, visitors and some employees will go to the left, and there's parking for that, for those here. At the front entrance of the building, you've got the main entrance, which is at this point here. Staff entrance here. The veterinary hospital, which is not open to the public, it's only for the facility, is located right here. And for events, this would be the community entrance at this location here. Once you come into the site, instead of turning left here, some staff will go to the right, and mainly those will be the dog handlers. They'll come in. The rear area here is going to be parking mostly for vans that are used to transport the trainers and the dogs to various locations. In addition, most of the trainers will park back here also. They're the first ones to the site. Usually they get there a few hours or an hour or so before the operation actually begins. That's one-way traffic looping around, coming back out. As you can see, we have a gate. This is gated, so it will only be accessible to those employees. We're showing some bank parking along this edge here. If it is anticipated in the future that it's needed, of course that would have to come back for an amended site plan, but we're showing it now, so that's in the record. This is the loading area here for deliveries and whatnot, and that brings you back out to the front of the site. This is the trash enclosure location, which is right off the parking area in the front. The building itself will be 2 stories. This footprint of the building is where all of the business end of the operation will occur. This is where the offices will be. This will be the veterinary hospital will be in here. Training rooms, community rooms, and whatnot will all be located in this. These areas that jut, these 4 fingers that jut out here, those are the kennels, and they're in what's considered pods, so they're separate pods to keep the dogs separated for health reasons. Off each pod, there are yard areas for the dogs to be let out and run around or train. And this is a common yard area, which is a little larger, where multiple dogs can go out and run or actually be trained in that area also. And I'll show you some visuals on that so you'll understand how that's going to look. Along this edge here, and this has yet to be detailed. This is just so you have an idea of what we're expecting to do, is to provide some screening along this south edge, which is adjacent to the residential area. So for now, we're just saying that there's some screening there, and of course, this is going to be vetted out as we go along in the process. This is the existing condition plan. Again, this is the existing residence, which is going to come out, and the driveway. So as you come into the site, you're dropping off the road. These are 1-foot contours, so it's not as steep as it might appear here. It's a very shallow grade. Essentially the pad itself is essentially flat, or as flat as we could get it, and still get enough pitch to get the drainage to make its way off the site. So this corner of the site here is in cut. It's in about 15 foot of cut in this corner here. And the west and northern edge is in fill. We're probably going to look to drop the site a little more, maybe another foot or two if we can, just to balance out the amount of excavation that's going to be required to build the project. So from this point of view, site's lower. From this point of view, site sitting up above the existing grade. We expect all the drainage to be collected in a series of catch basins and drainage pipe, and off to the west. And this is a little inset here. We've got an area that we've outlined that we propose our stormwater management's going to take place in. We have an appointment with the DEP to go out there and do testing, which is not until March, so they're pretty booked up. There's only one person at the DEP handling all the stormwater applications in this area, so it's hard to get any date sooner than that. Come on. Okay. Come on. Okay. This is the landfill closure plan, which we showed this to you the last time. This is what the DEP is reviewing, DEC rather is reviewing for the closure permit for the landfill site. Very sensitive here. Okay, come on. Okay. This is a tree plan, tree removal plan. We've been out. We've located all the trees. This table here is a list of all the trees and their size, condition, and we've shaded next to each tree which ones are coming out as part of the project. This is our parking schedule. This is a little different than what was submitted. We revised this. We originally had 89 employees, and now we're showing 75 employees. So we're having 50 spaces required. We're showing 65 spaces, which include the van parking also. And the future spaces or land bank spaces are 26. We've summarized the disturbance here. Overall, the site disturbance is 3 3/4 acres. That includes the landfill area. We break it down as to impervious and impervious, impervious and non-impervious areas in non-buffer, buffer, wetland, and landfill. So that gives you a good idea of what we're expecting to disturb. We submitted an EAF, a full EAF. That's been parts 1 and 2, as well as additional supplements to that. I want to bring you right to the visuals on this, on what the project conceptually is going to look like. So these are some rendered elevations. Southeast, so this is the main entrance here. This is looking from the southeast at the building. This would be the entrance to the veterinary hospital. Again, this is a head-on entrance to the veterinary hospital to the left, the main entrance in the middle, and community access to the right. This is approach coming in the driveway. This is more towards this side of the building would be facing the residential homes to the south. This is the loading dock area that I pointed out. And there will be a gate over here coming out of the rear parking area. This is looking from the southwest or the south. Again, this is now the pods here where the kennels are, this location. Again, that's the same looking from the north. Here's some bird's eye views of the project. Again, this is the main structure, and these lower buildings here, these are the kennels. The yard areas are off the kennels. This is the larger yard area, which I explained would be the common yard area. You can see in between smaller yard areas for each individual pods or group of kennels. This is what the yard area, the smaller yard areas would look like off the kennels. So as you can see, there'd be no visual access to this from outside the building, outside the line of the fence, or looking from 202 or from the west. And these are just two-dimensional elevations of the building. That's all I have to show you. If you have any questions, anything else you'd like me to go over?
Is there any type of sound screening built into the project towards the residents?
The buildings themselves will be soundproof. The dogs do not bark very much, or you would hardly hear barking of the dogs. But inside, as far as being inside, that's totally soundproof. You would not hear anything. Anything?
I remember dealing with some complaints from the Granite Springs.
Yeah, but that was rectified. Yeah, that was rectified.
Any site lighting?
Oh, not at this point. There will be, but we'll get to those details a little later on.
I had a question about the capping of the landfill.
Yeah.
Does that require maintenance of any kind once the initial work is done to cover it up?
No, I mean, you can if you want it. You can mow it, or you could just let it grow as if it's a field. It does not require any maintenance.
So there's
I'll take that back. I mean, you want to make sure that it stays stable and it doesn't erode or whatnot. So you do have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
from that perspective.
There was reference in your materials to deed restrictions of some sort being placed on this property, so that raised the question in my mind about future, conditions that might need to be kept in check. And you mentioned what they are. I assume that will be addressed in the proposal, once we go forward.
Yeah, go ahead.
So typically, the DEC will require some sort of site control of that area to be recorded against that area, so that current owners and future owners know or on notice that there's some either whatever maintenance requirements are going to be agreed upon with the DEC that they'll be enforceable. So we don't know that what they're going to be yet because we haven't advanced it that far with the DEC, but yes, whatever requirements will be imposed will likely be in some sort of deed restriction by the DEC.
Yeah, because to me, that's a positive aspect of this plan. I mean, it's obviously the building and the business is the main thing that's positive, but capping the landfill and protecting the wetlands that are nearby from conditions that are worse now, that's a good thing to do.
Joe, I had a question on the, you're crossing the wetlands on an existing roadway, if you will. Are you going to build new head walls and excavate that in any way to?
Yeah, so going to completely remove the existing pipe. It's in rough shape. It's a 12-inch pipe.
You got to make it wider, I know.
Going to make it wider, replace it with a larger pipe, a 36-inch pipe, and construct head walls on both sides.
And those head walls will act as a barrier when you're crossing that wetland? Because, I mean, there's like a 4 or 5 foot grade difference, I think.
We will either extend that or put some type of guardrail. I prefer the guardrail than to extend the walls up, the head walls up.
My other question is, you addressed the first floor of the main building, but you didn't tell us what's going to go on the second floor.
Offices, you know.
Okay, so it'll be more the medical facility for the dogs on the first floor, and then offices above the entryway and the public access.
Right.
Okay.
Just a comment to address the noise. I visited their existing site, and I don't know what upgrades you did, but we were outside, right outside the kennel, and the barking was barely audible. So, I'm assuming this is going to be even more soundproof than your existing site on Granite Springs.
Yeah, absolutely. Our current, Bill Moffin, County Eyes. Absolutely. The current kennel building was built back in the 60s and then I think again in the 70s and 80s. So obviously sound mitigation techniques have grown considerably since then. So this new kennel will have the latest and greatest sound dampening available. And we'll especially emphasize that on the southern edge of the property. That's also the reason why we pointed the kennels out to the west and to the north to try to keep it away from the residences.
Where were you? At Granite Springs? It might be important while we got the weather in front of us here, to maybe get on the site, maybe invite the, just like we did at the last ground-mounted solar site, the Conservation Board and the Tree
Sure.
Commission.
Why not?
Can we do that, Robin? Okay.
Is she going to throw something at it before that?
Maybe.
I mean, I think the review that we're presented with is very thorough at this point. I think we can move forward to.
With the public information?
I think so.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll set up public informational. You guys will be ready for that?
Yes.
Are you going to send David next time? You'll.
Well, it depends on who you want. Yeah. I'll answer that.
We like you though. All right, so we'll get a site visit with the Conservation Board and the Tree Commission on site so that we could all walk it together, and we'll get you on public information.
Great.
Okay?
Can we set it tonight, the public?
Robin's going to take you.
It can be February 13th.
Okay.
February 13th? Beautiful.
Good? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
That's it. A multi-million dollar deal. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of. And they're right, zoning board.
Okay, next we have zoning board referral. This is Curdy, number 57/22, locations 1655 Central Street. Bush.
Oh, this has been around.
This is one of those little,
We're getting there.
little lots left over.
So as you stated, this is a zoning board referral. I was here at the last meeting presenting this. The request for an area variance. The property is 5,000 square feet where 20,000 square feet is required. I was asked to provide some additional information. We provided a title report, an elevation of what the applicant would like the home to look like. Again, this was just something he got out of a magazine or whatever, but, or online, but it gives you an idea that it is going to be front-facing towards Central. This would be the front door here and the garage. So
sorry.
It would be something similar to this. I'm not going to say that this is going to be the actual.
I think that was the main concern last time.
Yeah. The other thing we did was,
Sorry. Hey, guys. Dan, I'm sorry. If you guys want to, if you could, thank you. Appreciate it.
the other thing we put together was, took a tax map of this section and block. The purple here is this subject site. In orange, we've got other properties that are of the same size. So there are 31 lots, 7 of which are vacant, and the remainder have homes on them currently. Many of them don't even come close to meeting any kind of setbacks as per today's standard. In yellow are lots that are 75 by 100. Again, they don't even meet the 100 by 100 that was originally required under the R10 zone, which was amended and now requires 20,000. So you've got a good number of properties in the neighborhood that are not conforming, either by area and possibly by setbacks. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And I think that's all I have for you.
I think our only concern was the forward facing.
Forward facing. Front view.
Yeah. Big improvement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any concerns?
It's just really, other than, I mean, I think you worked out and have seen the architecture is okay and going in the right direction. It's really just about the lot size.
What do we do? So it's zoning board referrals. We have to get a letter back to the zoning board.
All right, that's good.
Any thoughts?
I think given the restrictions, we've done what we can do. It's a legal question for them to resolve in terms of the variance, but in terms of fitting a building on that looks workable, yeah, I'm as comfortable as I think we can get.
I think the main concern for us initially was whether this was self-created by this applicant, and that seems to be cleared up, so we're good, I would say.
All right, Joe.
Okay. That's the gentleman can get a letter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
MGM.
I might.
You're not going for it, Joe. Next on the agenda is MJM Land Development. This is a discussion of a major subdivision. Locations 3232 Gomer Street.
You had previously seen this. Previously seen this. The applicant was trying to get a rezone to R3 on this site. Been before the town board a few times. Had some discussions with staff, and it's come to the conclusion that the best approach here is to go with a conventional subdivision that meets all the zoning requirements. access is still in the same location. It's off of London Road through an existing town right-of-way. When you come into the property, to the left, you can see there's 7 homes proposed, all are meeting the R120 requirements. You've got, in the center portion of the site, you've got a wetland, which is in green here. This orange shaded area here is buffer. You can see we've got some need for wetland permits. We're going to have some buffer encroachments and wetland encroachments in order to make this happen. So as you come into the site and you go right, towards the back portion of the site, you've got another 6 homes back there, again, all complying to the zoning requirements. However, there is some buffer intruding into the buffer of this wetland, which is off to the right side of the property, or the east side of the property rather, which is the source of this wetland is some runoff that comes in off of Cordial Road and runs through the site. I think there's a culvert. I think Dave Paganelli, I don't know if he explained that here or was at the town board meeting, but said there is a town culvert that dumps right onto the property over here, and that's a source of this wetland here. So this is an initial presentation to you to take a look at this, get some initial reaction if you feel like you have some comment that you'd like to make. If not, we would like to proceed with this application as a conventional subdivision.
I think maybe we should add this in the same group to that site walk. Same
Yeah.
day we do the guiding eyes if we could, just so everybody sees it at once.
Okay.
Okay?
Are there any markers out in the field, Joe, that we could, like center line of the road or something like that, to give us a reference, or the center
There's
line
not.
of
Well,
the
we can get some out there.
or the center of the cul-de-sac or something. At
Yeah,
least-
we'll
At
get-
least on the east side. I think the west side is more open.
Yeah, the west side is more open. That's where the existing buildings are.
Right.
About it, the front quarter of the site
Right.
is open right now.
I thought that there's less of a current concern with this layout for other means of ingress and egress, right?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of takes that issue away.
Yeah, I mean, we're avoiding coming off of Gomer Street,
Right.
right? I mean, there is this right-of-way here. And there is a little bit, back in this corner here, there's a little bit of frontage here, but it's not enough for a town road. We need 50 feet, it's 40 feet.
What about for just emergency
We,
egress?
yeah, we were open to doing that.
But it's really just one line pinch point, right?
Yep.
So there's just one.
I don't know if there's a way to
imaginary
get
line
it.
That's 40 feet.
Yeah, I don't know if we can get around that.
I don't know that you necessarily have to, if you get the 24-foot road in there.
But doesn't town
Well-
law require 50?
Yes, it does.
But this is
But
just
you can get a-
emergency.
You can get even if it was a regular road, you can get a variance for that one pinch point, I think, if the board supported it, depending on how they want to lay out the plan by the time they go
So
through it.
that's an option.
Yeah.
But it's less of a concern now that you've got 6 homes on that side.
Yes.
So it reduces that concern, at least on my part. So, not that I would eliminate putting that in if we can put it in. So, because it's gonna cost us nothing to have that safety feature, I think, even for the 6 homes.
Right.
It's gonna take off.
Sounds like it's a jet.
Is that the new coffee machine that you bought?
Buckle up.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a fan issue.
Well, something's rebooting.
He's got the door closed back there, maybe that's it.
All right, so we'll get a site visit set up, if we can get some points of reference out there,
Yep.
and
Okay.
you can give us a tour
Okay.
with the other boards.
All right.
Okay?
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Let's see.
All right. Last but not least, we have the Underhill Farm. This is a discussion of a site plan. Location's 370 Underhill Avenue. I think everybody knows where this one is by now.
I think so.
There is a lot of information we got to absorb.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I was dropping my daughter off at school this weekend. As much as I tried to attack it, again, there's a lot to absorb.
I think I might need another.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Counselor.
you've kind of set me up perfectly. Good to see everyone. Mark Blanchard from Blanchard and Wilson here on the Underhill Farm project. To talk to Mr. Chairman, to talk exactly to what you were just saying about the new information that you have. Our concept for tonight's meeting was to sort of reintroduce you to the information, ask for us to get we're at a place where we think we could get the referrals out to the Conservation Board, to the Architectural Review Board, and essentially we're going to run through a summary of the changes that you've seen. There aren't many changes to the site plan, actually. What you have in front of you is much more work that was done on the studies that the board had previously requested, i.e. wetlands, i.e. traffic, those types of things. So the plan is largely the same. Yes, there have been changes, but the plan is relatively the same. But sorry to be repetitive, what you have is the information that you've asked for. So one thing we wanted to just raise as we're going through this is something that you're going to see. We've done a lot of work on the traffic study. Wanted to remind the board that the applicant is looking to fund approximately $450,000 of its own money into the town, the 118, Underhill intersection. There's an additional monies in the amount of $350,000 that the applicant is looking to fund, but also in that respect, we're asking for the town to work with us and look at all the tools that we have available for tax abatements against that amount of money. We'd like to sort of wash that amount. We're looking at some traffic improvements right now with an E or D level of service. With our project, we're projecting a B level of service at that intersection. Obviously, I'm not going to be the one that explains that in detail, but we're going to explain that to you. As I said, the next meeting, we want to drill down and answer very specific questions. But for tonight's meeting is to get this resurrected back in front of this board and hopefully get it moving again. The other thing I wanted to do as I'm opening my remarks for our team is just to remind the board of some of the positive effects of this project. For example, the senior housing at Beaver Ridge, if you recall, we will be providing the parking for that senior center. So that's a benefit of our project. We're looking at, I've already mentioned the improvement to the intersection at 118. Part of our improvements that we're proposing will have improvements for future yet unknown projects. So we're not looking to just mitigate the impact of our project. We're hoping to encompass future projects. And Mr. Chairman, I recall you raising that question at one of our first presentations. So we've hoped to incorporate that into our project, into the design. We do want to have part of the parking to the Beaver Ridge Senior Center, and part of our layout in the site plan will provide a much better access for our first responders. We've talked about that in the past. And then, of course, the last thing we wanted to mention is the restoration of the existing pond/ice pond and some open space that we are going to be making available to the public. I think there's been a misunderstanding that we're inviting the public to run around our driveways and up our staircases and stuff. That's not part of the design. The open space is a segregated part of the plan, and it has to do with some walking trails, really, and the ice pond. And, of course, one of the major aspects I almost was remiss in not bringing up is not only the preservation and restoration of the main Underhill mansion. That's been a theme that we've had right from the beginning, and that remains, of course, an important focal point of our project, where an adaptive reuse after the restoration of the Underhill mansion. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Joe Rena to talk to you about some of the issues, some of the revisions to the site plan that you'll see. Thank you.
Okay, since our last submission, we prepared a more informative packet as far as the plan set goes. The second sheet of the drawing set gives a full breakdown of all the zoning requirements and our parking, allocation of parking. So that's very clearly spelled out on this sheet, and you'll be able to follow that. We made a change in this location here, and I'm going to bring up previous plan that you saw. On the previous plan that you had seen, we had 10 units in this location here. And as you recall, we were relocating this runoff channel which runs through the site here in order to accommodate that. So going back to the set that's before you now, we've eliminated 4 units from here. This is less dense at this point, and left the drainage channel in its original location. It's going to be enhanced, and Steve can address that if you have any questions about that. But that will remain in its current location. We did not reduce the number of units. We just moved those 4 units into the condominium, into the apartment building. So it's the same number of units. Okay. And we've got sheets that show some of the improvements on a preliminary scale. We show what we're going to do for stormwater it's more than a conceptual basis. We've vetted out most of this and done the calculations for what we're going to have for stormwater. We're going to have a pocket wetland here. We're going to have an infiltration system here. So that's shown on the plan, as well as grading for the proposed improvements. This plan addresses the recreation requirements for the project, and it's stabilized here, and it gives again a breakdown on how we meet the requirements of the underlying, or the R3 zone is the zone that we're required to do. We have a tree removal plan, schedule of the trees to be removed, and that all ties into the EAF, which Steve's office, Tim Miller Associates, have put together. At this point, I'll pass it over to Steve. You ready?
Good evening, Steve Marino, Tim Miller Associates. As Joe mentioned, we're at the point in the secret process now where we're trying to compile and get all the information that we've been working on, as well as what you've seen in the past, together. So we've put together this expanded EAF, which addresses a number of the items that we've been talking about at the public information hearings, based on feedback from both the board and the planning department, as well as correspondence from the public on a number of issues. So we've compiled what we have so far into one document. We've also added a number of different additional information kind of things that we hadn't really talked about necessarily in detail. As Joe mentioned, parking is one of those things. So there's a section on parking in the EAF now. I can go through real quickly. The book covers now land use and zoning and compliance with the existing overlaying zoning, a visual analysis with renderings of the site from a number of different locations, wetlands and surface water resources. And as an update on that, I have received correspondence from the town's consultant about some questions that they have with the delineation and what we're doing out on the site. So I'm planning on meeting with them on Tuesday to kind of iron out some of those issues. So before we come back to the board for the next meeting, we'll have some of those answers to some of those questions as well. The trees, as Joe mentioned, we have a tabulation and a discussion of trees in the EAF. The cultural resources section and related to all the history of the site, both before the Underhills and after the Underhills, has been updated and is now included. There's a summary section as well as the actual report from the cultural resource consultant in the back of the document. We discussed the fiscal and socioeconomic impacts, school district to the town. There's a chapter on that. The traffic section has been updated and summarized in the EAF now. Parking requirements and recreation requirements are now in the book. Stormwater management concept for this SWIP is summarized in the EAF. Discussion of utilities feeding the site is now included. Energy conservation and green technologies, that came up during the discussion, so we included some language on that, as well as a brief discussion of the alternatives that have gotten us to this point so far. So the EAF contains all this information in a manner similar to what an EIS would have contained. So you'll see that there are separate chapters on each of these important topics. But this process kind of allows for a little bit more open forum and discussion, more back and forth than would be available during a normal EIS process, where you'd get the book, there'd be a hearing, you'd look at the book, it'd be complete, there'd be a hearing, and then we'd move forward that way. This, I think, we expect that over the next couple of board meetings, we'll touch on each of these topics. We're thinking maybe for the next meeting, we will talk about traffic and the cultural resources thing, and then maybe the following meeting, touch on wetlands, water resources, stormwater, that kind of thing, just kind of bringing you up to date on all those details as we're working them out, as well as answer any questions you have during that process. And then finally, hopefully we'll come to an agreement that it's time for a public hearing to move forward with the process. And again, at the public hearing, people have been coming in and out. I know there's been a lot of public discussion leading up to this point. At the public hearing, we expect we'll be making another full presentation on all these aspects for the public that may be watching or may be in attendance that night. So again, we'll summarize everything at that meeting and as part of the public hearing process. And that's where we are.
I just want to jump in at this point. This seems to be helping us accomplish the very kind of, type of review that we need to do in an efficient manner. When we identified the various issues that were important to us, and you went back and you've given us all this information, I think it'd be very helpful for us to plan our own and prepare our own thoughts for these things, is that we do delineate which particular topics we're going to discuss at the next several meetings, so that if the next meeting in February is going to be devoted to traffic, we can look at the traffic and not worry about the wetlands until some other date. So that would be really helpful if we can put together a schedule of which topics we're going to review. I like the overview tonight. It was very helpful because there's lots of material here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff.
And obviously there will be more when the SWIP is completed and calculations and all. So there will be more. But this, I think, is a good place for us to start. And like you said, so we'll work with the planning department to kind of work out what a schedule could be for the topics of discussion for the next couple of meetings.
Good.
And when we start to think about that, if the board has no objection, maybe we dedicate a meeting solely to this.
Right.
And we could invite the other necessary boards in, along with, I think, the consultants that we have on board, so that we could really give the time and attention needed to this. And obviously with the other boards here, we could, have a back and forth, and especially with the consultants that, thank you very much to the town board, that we now have in place, we could really vet out these issues.
Yeah.
I think, Mr. Chair, I think it's a good idea. You've done that in the past where you've called a special meeting just for one project.
Yeah.
I like that idea of bringing the other boards together. We're all in the same room at the same
It's
time.
a lot to absorb, and again, we'd have to figure out, especially with town staff, because we don't want to keep them out every night late. But we could figure something out. That sound like a plan?
Not a Saturday night.
That's good, yeah.
What's that?
Not a Saturday night.
No. Oh, listen, I will tell you, Nancy had other ideas about how we should run these meetings earlier that we could talk about later, but I think it's just a good idea to get everybody in one room with the consultants, because, especially with these things, and, you see what is set out there, and I think there's a lot of, you could say anything. If you say it enough these days, people start to believe it. So I think it's important to get everybody in one room, really hammer out some of this stuff.
And Mr. Chairman, the town board is in the process of reviewing the RFPs that we did get back for the historical consultant.
Yeah.
So we're looking to get that done, so this way you have every tool possible in your tool chest.
So I think that's kind of our path forward at this point. Again, there's a lot to look at here, and we appreciate the work that was put into it.
Yes.
So, that sound like a plan? Any issues with that? John?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Okay?
Very good. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much. Really appreciate
Thank
the
you.
help. All right, that was the last item on the agenda. So I have a motion to close the meeting.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye. Thank you.
You know, if the Eagles win, we can do it Super Bowl Sunday. That's
Okay.
Oh, my God.
I just don't be too,
$500 bet.
I'm not sure one meeting.